You guys are in the right place at the right time. Hello, hello. I am Michelle Fox, culinary nutritionist and health coach, and I am sincerely glad you are here today. As Marie mentioned, we are talking today about creating a body you love through the power of nutrition. So, let's jump right on in because we have a lot to talk about tonight, including I will leave time at the end for questions and answers. So we'll get into housekeeping in a moment. But first, I want to talk about what I can promise you during this next 1 hour together. So, workshop promise number one. I promise to share my 3 pillars to help you create a body that you love and to also help with healthy aging. Workshop promise number two, I will definitely explain how your diet can help. Workshop promise number three, I hope to inspire you to look at your current dietary choices. And workshop promise number four, we're going to have some fun. For my friends who have been with us for our Eating for More Energy, a Michelle Fox workshop. It's going to be fun. So, are we up for that? Let me see it in the chat. I will tell you ahead of time, I won't be able to see your chat comments as I'm going through the presentation, but I'm going to take a moment, look at my second screen, and just let me see, put in there an absolutely or a kale, yeah, if you are ready to have some fun tonight. Yay, Catherine says yes. Allison says that's amazing. Kathleen, woohoo! All right. Oh, Maria, I got the hands up. Whoop, whoop. Okay, this is my kind of crowd. Nice. All right. Well, first, I want you to meet my dad. You can see I'm smiling, so this is still all so much love. However, my father, Michael Bates Johnson, he passed away in 2014 due to stroke and high blood pressure. Those are 2 diseases that I strongly believe can be avoided through lifestyle, through fitness, and through nutrition. And so my beautiful dad, he is my why, honestly, sincerely. This is one of the many reasons, actually, I say many, there's like 3 top reasons. My dad, my kiddos, and my biz, that I wake up every single day trying to find ways to increase the health of our communities one person at a time. So before we get into the juicy juicies, I want to share a bit of housekeeping first. So one, this is our time to relax, to be here together in community. So I want you to do just that. I want you to be in a comfortable environment. I want you to grab your water. I've got my water bottle here, or if you have hot tea, anything you need. If you're finishing up dinner, maybe you're making dinner, this is for you. I want this time to be for you. So feel free to eat, feel free to drink. As long as you stay muted for the most part. Like I said, I'll save the last 15 minutes. I've got my clock right over here. So if you see me looking up, it's just me checking the time. I will make sure to save plenty of time for your questions. I also want to encourage you to light up the chat box. Like I said earlier, I can't see it as I'm presenting. However, I will check it towards the end. We do have our wonderful program director, Allison, in the chat box, so she can help with anything that I may have missed. And also, I sincerely want to encourage you to love each other up. Like, this is our community tonight. This is us. So if I get talking too fast, or maybe if you're writing notes and you miss something, feel free to ask the question in the chat box, and there's a good chance that somebody will have the answer for you. Let's see. 3 more things. So I do have a second screen. So if you see me looking to the right, please know you still have 100% of my attention. I'm just doing some tech things on the backside. At the end, when we do the Q&A, I definitely would encourage you to have your camera on, because I'm going to turn the presentation off and I want to be up close and personal with you. So I want to give you a heads up there. Also, if for my friends who are just coming in now, no worries, you haven't missed anything. But if you feel like you did, we will have the replay emailed to you at the end. So that leads us to the rules. Yes, it's going to be fun, but it's also going to be educational. That is my main goal today, is to help you walk away with at least one golden nugget that's going to help to improve your life and to increase your nutrition and your energy and to help you with healthy aging. So to do that, I just encourage you to just release all the distractions. So this is a great time to maybe put the dog outside or close the door in your office or let the kiddos know that you are going to be focused for the next now 45 minutes. All right. So just another reminder for my A types who want to know how things are going. I will be presenting another about half an hour now as I look at the clock. And I promise you, I will save the last 15 minutes for Q&A. All right. So you are in the right place, my friend. If you have struggled with belly bloat, if you have insomnia, if you deal with low energy, and or if you're carrying a little bit of excess weight, you're also in the right place if you wonder if there is a connection between your current health symptoms and your diet. You are in the right place if you've decided that this is the year to pay more attention to your health. And you are also in the right place if you know that it's time to make a change to your nutrition. Whatever your motivation, I fully support you. I am sincerely so glad you are here. So tonight, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, I am showing up as your culinary nutritionist and your health coach. But I also have two other titles that I love that I would be remiss if I didn't share, and that is mom and wife. And yes, I am a dog mom too. Alice and I were just comparing notes of our doggies right before the call started. So that's my Chloe dog. And just so you know who you are working with tonight, I did get my applied psychology degree from NYU back in when did I graduate? 1995. And then a few years later, I did travel to Belize and I traveled to work with a shaman where I learned plant medicine, where I literally learned to talk to plants and learn how different plants and herbs can affect the different parts of our bodies. A few years after that, I did go on to the Interconnection Institute here in Denver, Colorado, where I got my certificate in meditation. And then most recently on this culinary nutrition journey, I did get my certificate at the Academy of Culinary Nutrition. So that's just a little bit about me. And now if you are multitasking, I'm just going to ask to pull you back in because now we're going to get into the meat of it. So what if I told you that there is a strong correlation between the foods we eat and our physical symptoms, and that making small changes can increase our energy and help to support our well-being? It's true, but I'm guessing you already knew that. So let's dig in and talk about that. First things first, though, I do need to give you the disclaimer that yes, my title is culinary nutritionist and health coach. It is not doctor. So anything I share tonight is truly for educational and entertainment purposes. Any major changes that you might choose to make to your own life, please, I just ask that you talk to your primary care physician before making any big changes in your life. So with that said, here is the magic right here. These are my three pillars. We've got mindset, we've got nutrition, and we've got fitness. So now it's your turn to participate. I am going to start a poll, and all answers to this poll are anonymous. So feel free to answer the poll the way you believe. So the question is, what are you most curious about today? Is it mindset, nutrition, fitness, all of the above? And I'm going to take a little sippy sip while I'll give you a moment. Okay, this is fabulous. Yay. So let me end the poll and I will share the results so you can see who and what we have in the room. Who looks like we have about a little over 165 people. So thank you all for showing up for yourselves and for your health. I sincerely applaud you. And then as far as the interest, it looks like all of the above. And you are my people. It looks like nutrition won out. So, okay, you are definitely in the right place. Let's get to it. And let me close out this poll. So let's start with our first pillar. It is mindset. So this is the literal definition from Cambridge Dictionary. And as I read it, I just want to encourage you to keep an open mind. I know, as I just mentioned, a little over 165 of us on this call. Some of us are at the very beginning of our journey, and some of us have already been to school and have done this, but maybe you just need a little reminder from your culinary nutritionist, Michelle Fox over here. Whatever reason you're here, I just ask you to keep an open mind and just know that, we're going to get out of this as much as we want, and we can just lean in. So with that, according to Cambridge Dictionary, mindset equals a person's way of thinking and also their opinions. One thing I do want to just start off with is an easy meditation. We're going to do it. It's going to be about 30 seconds, something we can all do at any point in our day. I strongly recommend you do it beginning of the day or right before you go to bed, so that you're not carrying those thoughts of the day and the to-do list, so you can kind of ground yourself. And so real quick, if you are in a position where you're feeling safe and comfortable, I just encourage you to close your eyes. And I want you to put your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your tummy. And I want you to breathe. And I'm watching the time. I promise you, this is under 30 seconds. I want you to breathe in. And as you're breathing in, I want your tummy to come out as far as it'll come. Breathing into the belly and breathe out. And do that for 2 more breaths in your own timing. Another one in and out. And now just take a moment and check in with yourself to see, like, how is your body feeling? Do you notice a difference on how you're feeling just 30 seconds ago? When you look around, like as I look around my room, my flowers over there look a little bit brighter. The writing on my wall looks a little bit more clear. It's amazing what we can do in 30 seconds. Just think of if you did that for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe I could encourage you to do 30 minutes. Okay, no, now we're going too far. For my friends in the room who can do that, hats off. I don't think I've lasted past probably 30 minutes myself. So, but the main reason why I want to start off mindset with this meditation is just so that you can get that in your body. Also, so that you can be here presently for this presentation. But when we are in meditation, it's giving our brain the signal of things are okay. I can handle this. I've got this. And when we're in that place, we can make better choices around our nutrition, around our fitness, around dealing with our families, and whatever else you have in your life. So I just wanted to offer that quick tool to you. Another part of mindset that I find is super helpful in building the body and the life you love is just practicing gratitude. We started that at the top of the hour, putting that in the chat. And right now, if you want to go ahead and put one thing in the chat that you are grateful for, there is a certain energy and synergy that comes with gratitude that just, again, helps us focus, helps us stay centered, keeps us balanced so that we can continue to make good choices for our health. Another part of mindset is planning ahead for our success. One thing that I love to talk about, and I will be back here a couple more times this year with nutrition. So maybe one of the workshops, you'll have to let us know if you're interested, but is in meal planning. When you know that you know exactly what to buy at the grocery store for the week, and you know exactly what you're going to have for dinner every night, again, it brings a certain calm and knowingness and presence that helps us to make those better choices, as opposed to running real quick to the fast food, and or if we're in an office situation, running to the vending machine. So I just offer that up to you. We're not going to get into the meal planning tonight, but you know, you don't necessarily need my guidance, but I just encourage you maybe even to start practicing writing down, Monday, we're having this, Tuesday, we're having that, and just see how that affects your week. Turning off technology at least an hour before bedtime. I will tell you that our cell phones, our iPads, our laptops, they all have blue light / blue rays in them, which has a shelf life of up to 4 to 6 hours per night, which means all of those frequencies are running through our head at night. And so for my friends who might suffer with insomnia and or might have a hard time falling asleep, it could be just because you've had screens on. So I strongly recommend turning off any screens at least an hour before bedtime. And then lastly, blacking out your windows at night. That is a great way for our cortisol to come down. That's our stress hormone. And our melatonin to rise. That's our sleep hormone. And when the windows are blacked out, it tells our brain, okay, it's time to sleep. And as most of us know, sleeping is one of the most foundational things we can do for healthy aging. And to putting my hand on my heart, because when I have a good night's sleep, I just feel more grounded and I feel better in my body. So I want to offer those up to you. So now, because most of us knew we were going to talk about nutrition, this will be the big chunk before we end with our third pillar of fitness. So with nutrition, this definition I actually pulled from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It is the act or process of nourishing or being nourished, specifically the sum of the processes by which an animal or a plant takes in and utilizes food substances. So with our nutrition, I couldn't get away with talking about our green vegetables. Green vegetables are typically going to have our iron that we need to enhance our blood. It's going to have the fiber to keep our digestive tracts cleansed and healthy. Where do I even? I could talk all day about green vegetables, which I'm sure you grew up knowing. Eat your vegetables. Your parents told you the truth. Examine your water intake. That's a big one that can sometimes get overlooked. And let's just take a collective sip now, whether you're drinking your tea or your water. Oftentimes, I find that when my clients talk about having uncontrollable hunger, it can oftentimes just be that they're dehydrated. Another way you can tell that your body might be dehydrated is if your lips start getting chapped. I know a lot of products, I call it health washing, but a lot of, and I won't name any names, I will just say a lot of sticks that you put on your lips are marketed at moisturizing. And yes, we definitely need that from time to time. But if you're finding yourself putting on the moisturizer on your lips like multiple times a day, there's a good chance that is because you just need to get more water in your body. So a good tool is having something like this size, 32 ounce, sitting at your desk or wherever you may work, just having it so it's in your eyesight. So it's just easy to grab and easy to get in your body.
But he and his brother aren't really that close.
All right.
Personalities and that stuff. So
I'm going to wait.
Basically, his daughter keeps in contact.
Beverly, would you mind hitting the mute button? All right, thank you so much. Okay, and so the last note for this screen is I also encourage people not to eat past 8 p.m. And this is going on a standard well, stereotypical.
Yeah, it really is. I'm thinking about that more and more as I see people in
I will definitely put that in quotes, the stereotypical day, because I know we all have different ways that we walk through the world. But I will say, if you're typically
yeah.
at your job or at your activity by 8 a.m. in the
Yeah, I
morning,
do.
then
So,
I would recommend not drinking water past 8 p.m. because that's going to help you sleep longer. And as we just spoke about, we want that sleep to feed our brains and to relax our brains. Another reason why we want to eat those green vegetables and get the water in is because it helps us to balance our hormones. Whether you are close to the teenage years or close to the, maybe you're in your 90s, your hormones are still there. I promise they are working. And depending on, I'm pausing just because everybody's body is unique. We'll start there. But I will say the more we can feed our
no, I'm not
brain,
judging.
the
I'm just
better
going
our
by what I read.
hormonal
Like, like lost.
situation is going to be. All right. And to my fellow participants, thank you all for your patience. I don't have access to mute people, but hopefully we'll get that taken care of in a moment. So we did mention a little bit earlier that sleep is our hormone. Okay, now I just got off my game. Okay, let me do the heart and the belly and come back to you. Thank you. Okay, so the melatonin, let's try that. The melatonin is our sleep hormone, and that can definitely be thrown off if we have those blue rays running through our brain. So again, we want to close down our technology at least an hour before bedtime. Progesterone and estrogen are actually really strong hormones that are affected by the things that we ingest in both men and women, including testosterone. Not a lot of people know that women actually have testosterone as well. And so we want to have a balanced diet to keep our hormones balanced. And then lastly, the cortisol. That is our stress hormone. So my friends who might struggle with anxiety, I would strongly recommend perhaps, and I know this is a tough one, so don't shoot the messenger, but I would strongly recommend looking at your caffeine intake, because when we're drinking the diet sodas or the coffee, especially again for those of us with anxiety, that's like throwing gas on a fire, because that caffeine is definitely spiking our cortisol levels, which also for those of us that might have a what I lovingly call as a tire around our waist, that's our cortisol that's affecting the insulin. And it's just a whole cascade. So we just want to be mindful of what we're putting in our bodies. So let's talk about a few things that we can put in our bodies to stay balanced. Potassium, one of my favorite nutrients that are going to help our muscle system relax. It typically feeds our brains. And again, our brains are responsible for those cascades of hormones. And so to get potassium through food, we can find that in avocados, which I love to put avocados in my smoothies. We love making guacamole around here. That's always delicious. I know avocado toast, and hopefully that's gluten-free toast if you're going for that. The avocado toast is pretty popular. So avocados, of course, the bananas. Love bananas for their potassium. With that, though, I just want to caution you that bananas, as beautiful as they are, such a beautiful gift from nature, they actually are kind of high in sugar. So just be careful. I'd say maybe one banana every other day, great. Or if you want to do half a banana a day, it's probably going to be a-okay. And then, of course, spinach. Whew. I do have a love affair with spinach, yes, because not only is it high in fiber, but it's really high in vitamin C, if you can believe that. So this time of year, when a lot of people are starting to deal with allergies and or cold symptoms, we want to get as much vitamin C in as possible. So you're going to get that from your spinach. And then, of course, fish that has our magical omega-3s in it. And for my friends who don't love fish, no worries, take a supplement. And again, talk to your primary care physician first. However, there are a lot of quality supplements on the market that can take care of some of those missing nutrients if you don't love the fish. Another nutrient is iron. Um, I've been told that some people can get constipated if they take the iron supplementation. And I know, again, talking to your doctor, if you are on iron supplementation right now, a good way to keep your digestive tract flowing is to stay high in the good fibers. And so when I say good fibers, I'm talking about your produce. So that's going to be, perhaps a green apple, the green spinach, the broccoli, anything green. You're going to be doing a good thing for your body. So with the iron, there are also ways to get it through food. So as we see here, lentils, beans, dark leafy greens, almonds. Almonds are one of my favorites because almonds are one of the only things in nature, not the only, but one of the only that are simultaneously a protein, a carb, a fiber, and a healthy fat, all in one little nut. So for my friends who can tolerate nuts, almonds are an amazing source of all the above. And then edamame. One more area that I want to chat about with nutrition is when you're looking at your whole picture, breakfast, lunch, dinner, let's look at what we are feeding ourselves that are anti-inflammatory as opposed to inflammatory. So anti-inflammatory, AKA a clean diet. Of course, we're going to have our fresh vegetables, which you can bake, you can steam, you can eat raw. Any way you can get them in. Get those vegetables in your body. I'm just that mirror holding up that reminder because I know you already know that. Organic meats where you can. I often hear, well, Michelle, organic costs too much. And my answer is usually as graceful as I can. My answer is that it might be a little bit more upfront, but it's going to save you a lot more when you're avoiding going to the doctor for all of the issues that the chemicals in the non-organic meats are causing in your body. Just a little hip tip. Again, fish is going to be an amazing source of protein, omega-3s, the healthy fats, nuts, avocado, and then I would say low to no alcohol. So on that note, and actually I am going to switch over to the chat to see who's still with me. Tell me, because as I did this graphic, I'm like, these graphics look a little different than what I was anticipating when I see it on the big screen. But just a little hint, I've been talking about a few foods to put in our bodies, but when we're talking about healthy aging and feeling good and loving our bodies, these two things I actually recommend eliminating if you can. So can anybody tell me what these two photos might represent? Let me click the chat button. Oh, and as I'm waiting for your answers, it looks like somebody had a question about are roasting vegetables okay? Yes, I love that question. Absolutely. In fact, cruciferous vegetables are amazing, particularly for those of us who are going through menopause and or menopause, which I truly think is a thing. I think both men and women are going through major changes once we pass the age of 40, and usually between the ages of 45 to 60 is when the hormones are pretty rampant. But all that to say, a cruciferous veggie bake is one of the best things you can do. So, you smother it in a little bit of avocado oil, sprinkle it with some sea salt, put it in the oven, roast it at 375 for, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 minutes. And whew, so delicious. And your body will so thank you for that. Okay, so let's see. Coffee and alcohol. Nancy says she loves cruciferous. Nice, Nancy. Love it. Coffee. Got it. Okay. Oh, you guys are on it. Nice. Very good. So yes, we're talking about the things to put in, but when you can, where you can, I just suggest you look at either eliminating or strongly reducing the caffeine and the alcohol, because both drugs can cause damage to our nervous systems. And I do want to say, of course, everything in moderation. I'm not going to come chasing you, hitting it out of your hand. You are a grown adult. You get to make the choices you want. I just would love for you to maybe pay attention, like just check in next time you imbibe in either one, just to see how your body's feeling. All right, moving on. So a few of the top allergens to consider that I'm just pausing to see how I want to say this. I will say, and the reason I'm pausing is because I try to avoid focusing in on the weight loss because one, all of our bodies are so unique and we all have different needs for our different body types. And my work is not around weight loss. My work is around helping you to eat for your body type. So with that said, a lot of us that are carrying excess weight, oftentimes it could be just because we're allergic to something that we had no idea we were allergic to. So for instance, for me, I am highly allergic to gluten. I didn't find that out until about 22 years ago when I was trying to get pregnant with my daughter. And my primary, actually not primary, she was my OBGYN, was like, well, let's just take this little blood test and see what's happening, because nothing was working. And sure enough, it came back that I was gluten intolerant and also dairy intolerant. And once I stopped eating the gluten, eliminated the dairy, I dropped about 15 pounds almost overnight. I mean, it felt like that at the time. It was probably over 2 or 3 months. But my point is, I wasn't going to my doctor to lose weight. However, when I figured out how to eat for my body type, the weight dropped. I slept better at night. I had unspeakable energy. My husband at the time was like, who is this woman? She's so much nicer to be around. So a few of the other allergens to consider are the corn, the soy, and then of course, sugar and alcohol. With dairy, I often say that dairy was made for baby cows. The caffeine, which we just spoke of, I do want to just pause and let you know that caffeine has a shelf life, depending on your body type, from anywhere from 6 hours to 10 hours. So that means that cup of coffee that you might have been sipping on around noon or worse, around 3 p.m., the effects of that caffeine that's like moving around in your brain, it can still be going on in your brain at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So if you do suffer with insomnia, it just might be something to look at, to consider. Sugar. That is an inflammatory ingredient. And sadly, the research has shown that sugar is very closely related to a lot of diseases, such as cancer, such as diabetes, such as blood pressure. Again, this is the research I've done. This is coming from personal experience. And then, of course, if you want to verify any of this, talk to your primary care physician. And then, of course, I had to mention the gluten because that's been my journey. And I have a feeling it's the hill I'm going to die on, because I sincerely believe that we are all on the spectrum of gluten intolerance, because the gluten that our grandparents may have eaten back in the day, 50, 60, 70 years ago, is very different than the gluten that we eat today. And the gluten coming from the wheat, it's a protein coming from wheat. It's inflammatory in our bowels and actually in our brain system because the soil has been tilled so much, because of the chemicals that have been put in that soil and a lot of the products that we've been fed. because the soil, again, is just very different than the soil 50, 60 years ago. That is why I believe and have seen that it can be very inflammatory for most of our bodies. So, we have a choice. When you look at your food, I encourage you to just ask, am I eating this to increase my health? Or am I eating this knowing that it's going to deplete my health? It's absolutely your choice. And so looking at the time, it looks like we are about 5 minutes away from our Q&A. And so I'm going to kind of run through gluten really quick. I just want to look a little bit closer at it. And before we do, it is time for another poll. So let's see what my community thinks about this one. Here we go. So what is gluten? Let's see if you were paying attention. Is it a bean? Is it a protein? Is it a figment of Michelle's imagination? And I'm going to take another sip of water while we're doing that. Oh, you guys are making me giggle. This is great. Okay, just in the sense of or respect of time, I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. And so, yeah, we have a few people that thought it was a bean, but this community is right on time. So gluten is a protein. Let me stop sharing this. Let's get it off the screen. So gluten is a protein. It is found in wheat, barley, rye, and spelt. And it acts like a binder. That's why we often have it in our baked goods, because it binds things together, it makes it softer. But if you stick with me, and I will be back here, let's see, May 2nd. And also before that, I'll be here April 6th. We'll be talking about how to make pad thai. But I was going to say, if you stick with me, we can make delicious foods without the gluten. All right. So, according to a Harvard Medical School article, gluten triggers an immune response that damages the lining of our small intestines. And this can interfere with the absorption of nutrients from food. It can also cause a host of symptoms and lead to other problems like osteoporosis, infertility, as I shared my story, and early onset menopause. And it also affects our brains. So if at all possible, you're hearing it from me, get it out of your diet. All right. So I promise I will not police your gluten intake. And I also want to give a quick little warning that just because something says it's gluten-free, it does not automatically mean it's healthy. There are plenty of packaged items out there that are way more loaded with sugar that we just don't want those in our body. So celiac disease, that is closely related to gluten intolerance. It's almost one and the same. It's estimated to affect 1 in 100 people worldwide, according to the Celiac Disease Foundation. So a few sneaky places it hides, and then I promise we will move on, is in soy sauce, in envelope sealers. There are some salad dressings, so of course I want you checking your labels for not only the gluten, but also sugar and preservatives, instant coffee, and some of the hard liquors. Fitness, this one's an easy one. It's our pillar number 3. And Michael, I noticed at the top of the hour, he said he got his fitness in before tonight. So A+, Michael. But fitness is one's ability to execute daily activities with optimal performance, endurance, and strength with the management of disease, fatigue, and stress, and reduced sedentary behavior. I know a lot of us coming out of the pandemic are trying to rework our fitness schedules. And so a few things I just wanted to encourage you here, that I don't expect any of us to jump out and run a marathon, unless that's on your list. It's not on mine. But walking will do a world of difference, just pumping your blood, releasing the stress, helping us to maintain our weight. It also helps us to avoid the heart stroke, the high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. So just simply walking. I'll just offer up to you. I shouldn't say my dog, Chloe dog, we met her earlier. She is my motivation. She definitely knows. She's right here at my desk at noon. We do our morning walk before breakfast and then the walk after lunch. And so that just helps me stay in shape. But we have yoga, we've got dancing. And if you've been to our Eating for More Energy, you know we're dancing in the kitchen. We've got the running. And then, of course, a lot of us feel like we get that fitness more in group fitness settings. So I encourage you to find out what works best for you and what feels good in your body. So, I mean, how does it feel to know that you have the ability to create wellness in your body? If you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a tab, especially for my friends on a laptop or a desktop. And there's a place for emojis. And I'm going to go to the chat box and see if you can put some fun emojis in the chat box. And then in a moment, I will ask Allison to read some of these awesome questions that I see coming through. Oh, you guys are great. Oh, yay, got the sunglasses and the hearts. Okay, and the celebration. Yes, please. Nicely done. Okay, well, this is it. If you are ready to finally feel amazing in your body, then I'd like to invite you to just make one change this week. I promise you, baby steps. If we can just make one change that we can commit to this week, it tends to have a snowball effect, getting some of the other changes to happen eventually down the line. I also find that it helps to have accountability if you put it in black and white. So let's see in the comments, just one change. Are you going to drink more water? Are you going to maybe go 3 days without gluten, wink, wink, and just see how your body feels? Perhaps you're going to commit to doing our nice meditation before bed and see if that helps with your sleep cycles. I just want to know one. Let's see if I can open the chat from this side. Okay, I won't waste your time. We'll check that in a moment, but thank you all for participating. I see the numbers moving, so nicely done. And I will just say that reaching certain goals can take a village. So we will be back here May 2nd at 10 a.m. I really hope you can join us. But I also mentioned that to say, whatever you're putting in the chat, let's just remember that so that we can hold each other accountable come May and see how far we've come. I also want to remind you that it is so possible for you to have more energy than you thought was possible, more confidence, increased focus, balanced hormones, more pleasure, and you can have a greater appreciation for your body when you're feeding it the foods, giving it the rest that it needs. And just as a reminder, my father is so with us. He's so with me right now, and he would be overjoyed knowing that I am sharing this message with you. So just wanted to hold up that mirror. And now it is time for Q&A. So if your camera's not on, feel free to turn it on now. I'm going to stop my share so I can be up close and personal with you. Let's see. Here we go. And so, yes, Allison, I would love to take you up on your offer of reading the questions because I have a feeling you've been tracking when they've come in.
Yeah.
And, look at all these faces. It's so wonderful to see you all. Oh my goodness.
There's some really great questions in here. Okay, so Linda and I know a lot of people like to read in bed and they use Kindles, which seems like counterproductive to the whole blue screen or blue light on the screen. So we were just wondering, I'm assuming they count.
It does. Yes. I'm sorry to be the bearer of the news, but I will say if you are going to do the Kindle and you're just like, no, Michelle, you can't take that away, then maybe you can meet me halfway and just not take that Kindle into your bedroom, because we want the bedroom to be a space where your brain knows that when we walk into this room, this is for sleeping. And it can be for a few other activities. Of course, we're adults, but it's not a place for blue light. So how about that? If you're going to hold on to it, maybe read it downstairs on the couch.
Yeah, and I think some Kindles actually have a different mode. Maybe it's paper mode or something with the lighting. So that might be something to check into. I personally read a book.
Got it.
It's
Well,
been a
there you
while.
go.
Anyway, there were a ton of questions on caffeine. I'm just trying to find them. So I had no idea that almonds were so super duper.
Oh, yes, that's the power food right there.
So one of
yeah.
the questions that I asked was, is it true that as you age, you need more protein in your diet?
Yes, awesome question. Absolutely. And so I talk in most of my programs about my PFF method. So that's protein, fiber, and healthy fat. And when we have those three things in any meals we're eating, it not only satiates us for much longer, but it sends the message to our brain that, I'm getting the nutrients I need. But yes, we want that protein. A lot of people ask about vegetarianism, and I know that can be kind of a hot subject, but I will share that I only recommend that if you are type A blood, that you could even attempt to be a vegetarian, because if your blood is type A, your stomach doesn't produce as much acid as the B's and the O's. But for my B's and O's, it is my personal experience that animal protein is actually very helpful for getting that protein in.
Great, thank you. And then Dee would like to know which type of fish is best.
All of it. Just kidding. I will say salmon is actually really known, specifically wild salmon, known to have the highest amount of omega-3s. But I also would say local fish is going to be your number one best bet. Really, anything local, whether it's our produce or our meats or our fish, that's going to be your best bet. Even over organic, we want local is going to be the healthiest for what our bodies can take in the nutrients, I would say.
Okay, and then what are the best, what is a good quantity of almonds to eat daily?
Awesome question. So I would say no more than like three quarters of your palm, because they are super dense in calories. So yes, they are an awesome source of our protein, healthy fat, fiber, and carbs, but too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing.
Makes sense. And then Astrid would like to know if a glass or two of wine is that bad for you?
Love that question, Astrid. Again, I try to meet everybody where they are. I will say a glass or two once or twice a month is going to be fine. A glass or two every night, I just really want you to look at your sugar levels, because the alcohol is turning to sugar very quickly, which we know plays into diabetes, type 2 diabetes. It's also a depressant. I know alcohol companies are great at advertising, oh, it's alcohol, it's a party, it's fun. But alcohol is actually a depressant. So just pay attention. Like if you find yourself kind of in the morning, like, oh, why am I groggy? Why am I moody? It could be the alcohol.
Yeah, I found that like if I drink wine at night or alcohol at night, I have a hard time sleeping. It like really messes with my sleep. It's weird.
Well, and because it's also, I said depressant, but also the sugar is a stimulant. And so, yes, your body's doing this, and that's what's happening to your hormones while you're trying to sleep. Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. So this is one of my favorite questions of the night. I will be very interested in your answer.
Let me
Uh,
put my seatbelt on. Hold on. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
is hot cocoa just as bad as coffee? Inquiring minds need to know.
So this one has a bit of a caveat. I would say, because I actually have a recipe for, I call it my cocoa morning love, where I use a natural cacao and I use stevia to sweeten it. And so that is a nature's source of caffeine. And I know you could argue coffee beans come from nature as well. I get it. However, the cocoa bean has a quality of loosening up the tension in our muscles. And so it definitely has way more health qualities than the caffeine bean, the coffee bean.
Good, I like it. I love
Yeah.
hot cocoa. Bonnie, just in case, I don't know if everybody saw this, but she mentioned a book called Eat for Life by Joel Furman, MD. And she said that she's vegan and SOSPA free. So that's salt, oil, sugar, flour, and alcohol. And she has incredible energy and she's very fit. Good nutrition made all the difference.
Oh, love hearing that. You just gave me goosebumps. And see, that speaks exactly to what I was saying about you have to eat for your body type. So bravo to you for finding that out. That's amazing.
So, and then there was a couple questions in here about how do you test for allergies for corn and soy and gluten?
Love that. So for me, I had a blood test and the doctor can tell immediately for your gliadin levels that will show your or your level of gluten intolerance. For the rest, I've heard of like skin pricks, which you can go to an allergy doctor and or obviously, again, your primary care physician. Can't say that enough. But or I know some naturopaths actually have some tools. I don't know of anybody locally, but I've heard of some naturopaths that know how to test for that for you.
Perfect. And then another caffeine question, is black tea caffeine as bad as coffee caffeine?
So, one, I try to stay away from the words good and bad because I think when we shame each other, that can definitely produce the shame spiral. And before we know it, we're on the floor surrounded by cupcakes. And we're like, how did that happen? So, I would say choosing to drink the black tea. Whew, that's a tough one because black tea typically does have a lot of caffeine as well. So I would just recommend that if you are drinking the black tea, drink it earlier in the day so that you can kind of work off the effects of that caffeine before it's time for bed.
There you go. And then Laura would like to know, and I feel like we've heard this question before on eating for more energy. Are you familiar with the FODMAP diet?
I am. So with that, from my friends who don't know, it's typically a diet asking you to avoid the nightshades. So I think that's like your eggplant. It's been a while since I've looked at that, I'll admit. But it is an elimination diet for the most part. And so in that way, I absolutely love any type of elimination diet because when we do that, it gives us a chance to just pause and it gives our digestive tracts a chance to pause. And then our minds can look back and be like, wait, okay, so when I eat the corn, I'm feeling anxious. Or when I eat the dairy, my stomach all of a sudden bloats, as opposed to when you're eating your normal diet and you're like, things are happening and I don't know what it is or why. That's why I actually personally love elimination diets, because then you can take your time and figure out what is the maybe one or two factors that are participating in my discomfort in my body.
Exactly. So, and then Jeannie, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time zeroing in. With so many choices in the supermarket, can you please recommend a healthy gluten-free bread for avocado toast?
Yes, I love that question. So my favorite is actually Canyon bread. I believe it's Canyon. I know Canyon's in the word. It's like it has red, um, a red label, but Canyon Bread Company, they're based out of Boulder, Colorado, but they sell their bread in Costco, so very easily accessible. I've seen their bread in King Soopers and in Sprouts, and that's the bread that my family will actually eat because yes, they still fight me. I've got 3 teenagers in the house, but they will eat that bread because it does taste the most similar to the traditional bread that I have found.
And then we have one on blue light glasses. Do they really help? Do you know?
So one, thank you, Julie Z, for coming to my rescue. So it is Canyon Bakehouse. So awesome. That's for the bread. And then as far as blue light lights, I mean, lenses, yes. I wear mine for my laptop during the day when I'm doing my work. But if you're still trying to fight me on the blue rays in your bedroom while you're sleeping, I'm going to hold on tight to my original recommendation, which is if you have to read that Kindle at night, maybe just don't read it in your bedroom.
Okay, and here is an interesting one. If I can find it. So Minnie has no problem falling asleep, but she cannot stay asleep.
Yeah, that can often be from the shelf life from the Blu-rays and or from the caffeine. And if Minnie were to tell me that she's completely caffeine free, then that would be the next step. I would definitely ask to talk to your doctor and or naturopath about possible allergens. Because I know I've actually heard and read actually research of dairy products making people feel more anxious. And so maybe if you just had like your cup of yogurt, maybe for dessert at night, that could be one thing that's like stimulating your brain in the middle of the night and you had no idea. So I would say, don't be afraid to ask the questions and just keep digging.
Makes sense. And then here's another interesting one that you haven't said anything about chicken. Would you consider it a good protein?
I love chicken. Yes, specifically organic chicken. Because again, we want to avoid the extra hormones that sadly are allowed into our meats these days. But organic chicken, if you are open to eating meat, excellent source of protein. Yes.
Awesome. And then Melinda said that someone told her that the easy way to remember what type protein is good for you is number 1, no legged animals. Number 2, eat in moderation, 2-legged animals. And number 3 is 4-legged animals, eat in moderation, low fat. Hold on. Low fat exception would be wild game meat.
So that one I would definitely put back into the category of you have to eat the way that feels good for your body. I like there's no place for me to say yay or nay. Like I won't argue if that works for you. I would say that's great.
And then somebody thought that organic grains like quinoa, long grain rice, etc., were good. Are they not?
They are fantastic. Absolutely. So quinoa, similar to the almonds, another miracle food because quinoa also is a source of protein and carb at the same time. So yes, I'm a huge fan of quinoa. With the rice, we really want to be careful around the white rice. I will admit I am human and I am a sushi lover. And I love that sticky white rice. However, when I eat it, I'm very clear that the next day I'm probably going to be stuffed up just because the white rice turns into sugar very quickly. And so if you're going to have rice as a staple in your home, I would recommend having the brown rice because it takes a lot longer to turn into the sugar with the brown rice.
Okay, and then here is a very interesting question that says, does Michelle have a book on nutrition or possibly a series of workshops? So before you answer that, Michelle, I'm going to ask you if you could just put your email in the chat. And for those of you that would like to know more about other, like a possible series that Michelle might have going on, you can email her directly, and then you guys can work that out. But we do have Eating for More Energy, which Michelle does for AARP. And I will go ahead and I put the registration link earlier, but so much has gone on since then. So I will put that in the chat also. So if you guys want to email Michelle directly and find out more about her one-on-one programs and stuff like that, go for it. And then if you would like to find out more about our AARP programs with Michelle, here is the link for that. Does that make sense?
I love that. Yes, I will be back here with AARP April 6th. We will be making pad thai, which will be delicious and, of course, nutritious. And then I put a link to my free meal planner in the comments. So it's just michellefox.com/planner. And that's a great way to be a part of my community, to plug in.
And then if we could just ask, I know we're like running long here, but if we could ask you 2 more questions. What about dark chocolate?
Yes. So I am a fan of dark chocolate, actually. So I'm not the bearer of all the bad news. I will say dark chocolate is very rich in magnesium, which is an amazing muscle relaxant. So yes to dark chocolate. With that said, 1 or 2 squares per day, awesome. 1 or 2 bars per day, probably not so awesome, because of course it still has the sugar content. But I like that it has very low dairy content, if at all. So awesome question.
And then I think that there was a question about white bread or whole wheat bread, but I think that went back to your Canyon bread.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so the Canyon Bakehouse, they have a multi-grain bread, which I really like the taste and the texture. But I think they also have a white bread and maybe a darker bread. So I would say just experiment. And for those of us who are in different cities, specifically in California, I was there recently, and I was experimenting with a lot of different brands that were actually pretty good. I will say when I was given my gluten diagnosis 25 years ago, there was hardly anything on the market and things were like crumbly. But now, sincerely, there are so many options. So I would say be brave and explore. It's definitely worth it.
Oh, very awesome. And actually, I'm going to ask you this one more question because it seems concerning. Is there a concern about arsenic levels in brown rice? I hope not.
That makes me sad if there are. It actually goes back to the whole organics as well. I will tell you the brand that I have in my cabinet is Lundberg, and I get that from Sprouts. I think they're at King Soopers as well, but I know they're a very clean rice. I'm going to take notes and do some research because I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, me neither.
Hmm.
So anyway, I think I got them all. So thank you so much. Stacy B says, read food labels on the bread. Not all wheat breads are created equal. Look for whole grains listed by name and avoid enriched wheat flour. So thank you, Stacy B. That is some good advice. And Michelle, I would just like to thank you for a great evening. And everybody, I have got to tell you that I have tried her approach and she's not kidding. It works. It's true.
And thank you all for showing up and just being curious, being willing to try. I'm rooting for you. You've got this.
Yeah, so we will be in April, the first Thursday in April. We will be cooking in the kitchen, and then we will be back in May for nutrition and a little nutrition chat. So thanks everybody so much. We will be sending the recording out so you can refer back to it, and have a great evening. Thanks, Michelle.
You are welcome.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.